Anyone who believes in a God like this, the God of the Catholics, that God is an idiot. Why would God create, he said, a perfect, beautiful paradise, put Adam and Eve in it, and then stick a tree in the middle of that and tempt them with a serpent to eat the apple, and therefore to commit sin that we all inherit? Well, now that is said very, very sarcastically, obviously. And anyone that would look at it would say, by any definition, to call God stupid or our belief in the God that has revealed himself an idiot is obviously blasphemy. And whenever a blasphemy is committed against our faith, we priests, the bishops, have an obligation not only to correct it, not to attack the person who said it, but to use it as an opportunity to see what we really teach. And we cannot really understand the fall of human beings that we call original sin unless we realize that long before human beings were on this planet, long before God created human beings, he created angels. And he gave them a beautiful gift. He gave them heaven, of course, but he also gave them freedom. And with that freedom, they could use that freedom to say, we want the same power that he has. Let's rebel. And so Lucifer, Satan, and his angels had a war with St. Michael the Archangel and his angels, and Satan lost. And they were cast out of heaven, and they were sent out into the netherworld and are allowed to travel around this earth. So long before Adam and Eve committed sin, there was evil. And the evil was Satan and his angels, roaming around the world. And so what the book of Genesis, which is not a science book, it's not a history book, it's a book that's trying to tell the story of how God created man, once had a beautiful relationship with him, but that God also gave human beings, represented by Adam and Eve, the gift of freedom. And with that gift of freedom, God called them to obedience. This is the one thing you can't do, is try to have the knowledge of good and evil that only God can have. Everything else is yours in paradise. And so that evil spirit that was left loose from heaven and his dominions, represented by the snake, tempted the first human beings to use their freedom to reject God's love and to disobey. And when that happened, we had a fallen nature, a tendency not to love. And you and I know that even though original sin is forgiven in our baptism, there's a leftover residue of a temptation to be selfish, sinful, unloving, to call God stupid. And God, do you notice, doesn't interfere? I had mentioned this at the World Trade Center about a year ago, that another question that was raised by the president is, where is God when a 3-year-old baby is being raped by a drug addict? Is he going to wait till the final judgment? Why doesn't God interfere when evil people hurt good people? Freedom. God cannot take away the freedom of those guys that beat up that poor guy that didn't have a shirt on in prison. God is all powerful. Could he have stopped it? Yes, he could have. But he doesn't. In the same way that when you and I go to involve ourselves in chismes, he can make our tongues cleave to our palates. But he doesn't. He allows us to fully use our freedom to accept his love and be in the kingdom of light, or reject his love entirely and be in the kingdom of darkness. There is a spiritual battle that's being raged upon the earth. And it's being raged between the kingdom of darkness, which is very real. Ask Father Zacchaeus, the chief exorcist of the Diocese of Manila. And right now, there are over 100 people waiting for an exorcism. The use of the occult, Ouija boards, tarot cards, all of those things are invitation to the kingdom of darkness. Come. And they do. Always use your faith, your religion, and your freedom to reject anything that smacks of blasphemy. Because the source of that is not God. The source of that is temptation to make someone make fun of their faith or someone else's faith. Yes, we're fallen, we've committed original sin. Adam and Eve represent that. But God has created each human being as a single, unrepeatable act of his love. And the reason why he sent Jesus is to bring us all home for a homecoming. But in the meantime, he leaves us free. This God who is love. To arrogantly say, you don't exist. Or you're an idiot. Or you're stupid. Or that we're stupid to believe in God like that. God's wisdom will overturn that folly. Maybe I take a little risk doing this. Today, I don't care. I had to say what I just said. And I say it in charity.
Please rise for the profession of faith.
I believe